They said I'd be famous, that all I had to do was post, seduce, obey. But they didn't tell me the truth, that the game wasn't about followers. It was about control. I woke up in a mansion with no exits, cameras in every wall, and a contract that said I no longer owned my own face. Every kiss was calculated. Every tear was content. And when they tried to clone me, to replace me with an AI version of myself, I did the one thing they never saw coming. I broke the algorithm. And now they're coming for me. Welcome to the skillful art of manipulation. If you haven't already, please consider following us on your favorite podcast platform. Today we present to you Deadly Influencers, Sexgame Psychological. Let's dive into this thrilling narrative together. Chapter 1. The DM that changed everything. It started with a ping. Not the kind that lights up your screen and you brush off without a second thought. No, this one felt different. Like a frequency tuned to something primal inside me, something I hadn't touched in years. I remember the exact second I saw it. It was 3:04 a.m., my apartment reeking of spilled vodka and stale ambition. I'd fallen asleep editing a thirst trap I wasn't even confident enough to post. And there it was, a DM, from an account with no profile picture, no bio, just a username at Nexus_recruiter. You've been chosen. We see potential. Respond with the word ready. My thumb hovered over the screen like it was a trigger. Something told me not to respond. But I did. Of course I did. Because people like me, nobody's clawing at relevance in a world designed to ignore us. We don't wait for miracles. We grab them by the throat. I typed it. Ready. Sent. Delivered. Read. Then everything in my life began to fracture. The next morning, I woke up to find my phone flooded with new followers. Thousands. Then tens of thousands. Comments rolling in like tidal waves. Likes. Shares. DMs. I was viral. But not for anything I did. No content. No reel. Just a single repost of one of my old photos. Edited. Filtered. Enhanced with a watermark I didn't recognize and a caption I didn't write. New face of the Nexus. Who the fuck was the Nexus? I stared at my screen like it had grown a second head. I thought maybe I was hacked. Or maybe this was some twisted marketing prank. But when I checked my email, I found a plane ticket. First class. No sender name. Just an address in the hills, a QR code, and the words, "Welcome to level 1. You have 24 hours. Speak to no one. You ever feel like your life isn't real? Like you're living someone else's simulation? An NPC in a world where everyone else got the cheat codes?" That was me. A failed model with 6K followers, half of them bots. I worked a side job doing promo at nightclubs where girls wore less than their self-esteem and guys treated influencers like collectibles. The only difference between me and the rest was that I hadn't sold my soul yet. Not until that moment. I packed nothing. Just my passport and my phone. I didn't even tell my roommate I was leaving. She wouldn't have noticed anyway. She was too busy live-streaming her healing journey while fucking her yoga instructor. I held a car with a QR code, and within minutes, I was being driven in silent black-tinted luxury through the city I thought I knew. But nothing could have prepared me for Nexus House. Imagine the kind of mansion that doesn't show up on Google Earth. Gated. Guarded. Hidden behind walls of cascading vines and lies. It wasn't just money, it was curated perfection. The kind of place that made you feel small just by existing near it. Inside, there were no signs, no greetings. Just cameras everywhere. Invisible at first, but the kind you feel. Watching. Recording. Learning. A woman in a sharp red pantsuit greeted me. Not a smile. Not a handshake. Just a tablet and a signature line. Consent to the game. Once entered, you cannot leave unless eliminated or crowned. I should have asked more questions. I should have run. But I didn't. I signed it. Why? Because I was tired of begging the algorithm for crumbs. Tired of bending over backward for brands that didn't care. Tired of pretending I didn't want to be seen. If this was a game, I wanted in. The first room they led me into wasn't a bedroom or a set, it was a confessional booth. A sleek, neon-lit chamber with one chair, one camera, and one question glowing on the screen in front of me. What are you willing to do for influence? I didn't lie. I said everything. Over the next 72 hours, I was plunged into a world that didn't feel like Earth. The people, beautiful, but broken in the most intoxicating way. Every smile was rehearsed, every touch a transaction. We weren't influencers, we were players, and the followers we gained, bought, engineered, controlled by something, or someone I couldn't see yet. They gave us new names. Mine was Echo. Your old identity no longer serves you, they said. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be obeyed. And the rules? Simple. You fuck who they tell you to. You post what they program. You manipulate, seduce, and destroy your competition. Publicly. You never speak of the game to outsiders. You never, ever fall in love. If you break the rules, they don't delete your account. They delete you. The mansion pulsed like a beast. Rooms shifted. Cameras blinked. Hidden microphones whispered. Every inch of the house was designed to provoke you. Sexually, emotionally, psychologically. We weren't roommates. We were weapons. And me. I was the quiet one. The underdog. The new recruit they underestimated. But I learned fast. I watched the way the others moved. The fake orgasms. The deeper betrayals. The way they smiled at you just before they slit your throat. It wasn't about content. It was about control. The first night, I was paired with a girl named LUX. Platinum blonde. Eyes like knives. Skin like money. She leaned in close and whispered, "If you want to survive this, you'll have to fuck your morals before you fuck me." And just like that, the game began. I wish I could tell you I had a plan. That I was smart enough to play both sides. But the truth? The game played me before I ever stepped through that door. And somewhere, far beyond the mansion walls, someone was watching. Someone who set all of this in motion. Someone who knew exactly how to manipulate a desperate soul like mine. And they weren't done with me yet. Chapter 2. The Mask of Perfection. People think fame changes you. That the likes, the lights, the luxury, all of it transforms you. But they're wrong. Fame doesn't change you. It reveals you. And in this place, under this roof, it didn't just reveal who we were, it weaponized it. The morning after I met Lux was a blur of neon and silk. I woke up disoriented, my skin still humming from her bite, my mind fogged with the aftertaste of something I couldn't name. Was it lust? Shame? Victory? Or just the beginning of psychological rot? The sheets were black. The air smelled like citrus and blood. I reached for my phone out of habit, but there was no phone anymore. Just a sleek black device issued by Nexus Operations, mounted into the wall like a digital leash. My old feed was gone. My old posts deleted. My name wiped from every corner of the internet like I never existed. I wasn't me anymore. I was Echo. And Echo had work to do. My first task arrived through the screen. Rise. Shower. Mirror room. 5 minutes. Where the silver collar. Color. I laughed. Out loud. Then choked on it. I found the collar laid out on a velvet tray beside the bed. Heavy. Cold. Engraved with my new name like a brand on a prizefighter. Or livestock. I was property now. Content. The mirror room was exactly what it sounded like, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, a chamber of infinite reflections. Every step I took, I saw myself multiplied, dissected, reframed. It was the kind of room designed not for vanity, but for exposure. For stripping every illusion you ever had about yourself. Lux was already there, naked except for her own collar. She didn't look at me. She just stared at her reflection, touching her own cheek like it was someone else's. Then I heard the voice. Not hers. Not mine. But from the walls. A woman's voice. Calm. Beautiful. Deceptive in its softness. Welcome to Level 1 of the Nexus Psychological Conditioning Program. Today's objective, identity deconstruction. I blinked. What the fuck was this? Your influence is limited by your ego. Your ego is built on lies. You will now remove the mask. Lux turned toward me and nodded. That's when I saw it. She wasn't just staring at herself. She was rehearsing herself. The next hour blurred into an emotional vivisection. They made us list every insecurity we'd ever had. Every moment we'd felt unworthy, ugly, overlooked. They made us say them out loud, over and over, until we broke. Lux confessed how she'd starved herself for 4 years just to fit into algorithm-approved dimensions. She showed me the scars beneath her ribs, soft white ridges like whispered apologies. She talked about her fifth nose job, the way she threw up between sets, how she faked orgasms in brand deals just to keep the sponsors watching. She looked like perfection, but she was bleeding underneath it. I didn't even know I was crying until my voice cracked. They asked me why I wanted influence. I said, because I want to matter. They said, wrong answer. You already matter. That's not why you're here. Say it again. And I did. Because I want to be worshipped. We weren't building brands. We were tearing down boundaries. Every confession was data. Every tear was a metric. We were content farms fueled by pain. And the worst part, I liked it. There was something intoxicating about the exposure. The rawness. The release. No filters. No captions. Just the ugly truth of who I was. It made me feel powerful. After the session, we were given face techs, smart masks molded to our facial structures that projected hyperreal filters onto our faces in real time. Think Snapchat meets mind control. You could smile without smiling, cry without feeling. It recorded every micro-expression, learned our weaknesses, then optimized us for virality. I stared at my digital self in the screen. Not a blemish, not a twitch, just perfection. They told us we'd be going live in 24 hours. To over 6 million followers. This is your rebirth, the voice said. You are no longer people. You are brands. Sell them fantasy. The rest of the day was a carousel of psychological drills. We practiced selling fake stories with real tears. We were made to watch clips of ourselves under stress, zoomed in on our breaking points, slow motion playback of our shame. They showed us what the audience really wanted. Not truth. Not authenticity, but curated collapse. Emotional porn. Later that night, I found a journal slipped under my door. Not digital. Handwritten. Anonymous. Inside was a single entry. The only way out is through the top. Don't trust Lux. And whatever you do, don't fall for him. No signature. No clues. Just dread. Dinner was served in the garden. 12 of us sat at a long, serpentine table lit by chandeliers that floated in midair. No talking, just eye contact, posturing, silent dominance. I watched as Lux smiled across the table at someone I hadn't seen before. A man, tall, angular, dripping with quiet control. His presence sliced the air like a scalpel. He wore no collar, just a ring, a serpent eating its own tail. He didn't introduce himself, but I would come to know him by many names. Online, he was known as Sage. In the house, he was called the architect, the first influencer, the first manipulator, the original sin this entire game was built on. And the moment our eyes met, I knew. I'd already lost. Chapter 3, Rules of the Game, Seduce or be seduced. There are rules in this house. Unspoken, sharp-edged, blood-drenched rules. You don't break them. You let them break you. Then you learn to enjoy it. Day 3 felt like a dream laced with static. My body moved, but my mind floated like I was watching myself from a screen just outside of reality. I hadn't slept. Not really. The mattresses were too soft, the air too clean, and the silence too loud. Even in sleep, the cameras whispered. I'd wake up gasping with phantom hands around my throat. The words, "You've been tagged," echoing in my mind like some fucked up lullaby. At breakfast, no one spoke, but everyone performed. We wore pre-selected outfits tailored to the emotion the algorithm wanted us to sell. Mine was vulnerability, loose white tank top, wet hair, no makeup, bruised knees. I didn't remember bruising my knees, but the house did. The breakfast table looked like a Dior ad set in a psych ward. Lux sat across from me, licking strawberries like they were sins. Sage wasn't there, but his influence was. Every pair of eyes darting, every fake laugh, every tightened jaw. He didn't need to be in the room to control it. He was the room. Then the voice came, again from nowhere and everywhere. Welcome to your first influence trial. Today's challenge, emotional conversion. You will seduce your target, extract a confession, and make them beg for validation. Post content, tag it, sell the moment, highest engagement wins. And then, your target is Lux. The screen blinked and her name flashed red. Target, not partner, not teammate, not even competitor. Target. She looked up at me and smirked, like she already knew. Like she'd been through this 100 times, and I was just another fresh piece of bait served on Nexus's silver platter. Well, Echo, she said, licking her spoon slowly. Let's make the algorithm come. They gave us 3 hours. 1 room. No exit. No script. Just a mounted camera in every corner and a glowing green that tracked our every breath. The setting, a full of den. Satin sheets, mood lighting, chilled champagne, music that pulsed like arousal trapped in audio. But this wasn't romance. It was war disguised as sex. Lux sauntered toward me, hips rolling like she was being filmed even when she wasn't. She pulled me down onto the bed and whispered into my ear, "You'll lose if you try to be sweet. They hate sweet. Be cruel. Be curious. Break me." "Why?" I asked. She laughed. "Because pain converts better than love." We started slow, words laced with honey and poison. She pretended to be guarded. I pretended to care. But the whole time, I felt the pressure of the cameras like heat on my spine. This wasn't seduction. It was data extraction. The more intense the scene, the higher the conversion. And so I leaned in, close enough to feel her breath, close enough to smell the manipulation on her skin. "Tell me what you're hiding," I said. "Give me your worst." She smiled, soft and sad. Then she said it. "I killed someone to get here." The words fell like a trapdoor. I blinked. She didn't. "He was my old mentor," she said, sliding her hand beneath the hem of my shirt. "He tried to make me his puppet, so I flipped the script." "You're lying," I whispered. "That's what makes it perfect." And then she kissed me. Not sweetly, not passionately, but strategically, like she knew the frame, the angle, the timestamp that would go viral. Her hands moved, but they weren't seeking pleasure. They were creating content. Her mouth tasted like control. Her nails dug truth from my chest. And just before I let myself fall too far, too deep, too real, I remembered. She was my target, so I flipped the game. I pulled back, looked her dead in the eye. "You're nothing without your followers." The shift was instant. Her pupils dilated. Her breath hitched. Her hand trembled against my jaw. And for a moment, I saw the real Lux. Not the character. Not the mask. The frightened girl underneath who didn't know who she was without validation. She didn't speak, but the camera caught it, and the screen blinked. Confession acquired. Content uploaded. Engagement 2.3 M. Later that night, our stats were posted on a digital leaderboard in the main hall. My name was second. Sage was first. Of course he was. He appeared behind me as I was staring at the board. "You've got potential," he said. I turned slowly. His voice was lower in person. More dangerous. Like seduction dipped in acid. "But you're still playing checkers. And you're playing chess?" I asked. He smiled. "I designed the board." He handed me a card. Blank. Except for a symbol. A black key. "Come to the basement. Midnight. If you want to know the real game." Then he walked off like he hadn't just shattered my world. The basement. No one talked about the basement. People joked about it. Whispered. Avoided eye contact whenever it came up. But now I had the key. And everything in me screamed, "Don't go." But I went anyway. Because I had to know. At 11:59 p.m., I crept down the spiraling marble steps, the card clutched so tight it cut into my palm. The basement door pulsed when I touched it, like it recognized my presence. It slid open with a hiss. And what I saw inside wasn't a game. It was a theater. Velvet curtains. Surveillance feeds. Velvet chairs arranged like a jury box. And at the center, a bed. With shackles. Sage was there, seated in the shadows like a judge awaiting confession. "This is where the real metrics are born," he said. "What do you mean?" He gestured toward the screen. It flickered with scenes I didn't remember filming. Me crying in the mirror room, Lux's fake orgasm, the moment I told her she was nothing. "It's not about content," Sage said. "It's about conversion. Psychological dominance. Sexual obedience. Influence is just the delivery system. The real currency." He stood, walked toward me, placed a hand on my chest. "Is control." He leaned in. Too close. Too calm. "So tell me, Echo, will you be a god, or a good little product? My throat closed. My heart raced. And just before I could answer, the lights snapped off. The door locked behind me, and a new voice echoed through the room. One I hadn't heard before. Colder. Darker. Feminine. Welcome to the next level, player. Chapter 4. Followers. Fame and fatal obsessions. They say power is the ultimate aphrodisiac, but they never tell you what happens when the aphrodisiac becomes an addiction, or when the power stops being yours. By the time the basement doors reopened, I wasn't the same person who'd gone in. Something had shifted, bent, cracked, like a glass that didn't shatter, but spiderweb from the inside. My reflection didn't quite match anymore. My eyes were darker, my mouth tighter, my thoughts no longer entirely my own. And the worst part, I liked the new me, because the old me was weak. The old me begged for likes, prayed for relevance, chased people who ghosted and scrolled past like I was invisible. But Echo made people watch. My ranking shot to number 1 the next morning. Overnight, I gained 4.2 million followers, my engagement metrics had tripled, and my new follower base had one eerie trait in common: they all had the same bio. Obey Echo. Somewhere, an AI or a puppet master was syncing with my image and pushing it like a virus. I became the narrative, not just a player in the game, but the new lead. And when you're the lead in the Nexus House, everyone either wants to fuck you, follow you, or finish you. Lux didn't speak to me for 2 days. She gave me looks, though. Razor-edged glances across rooms, behind screens, during group challenges. I think she wanted to hate me, maybe even kill me. But the thing about hate in a place like this, it's just love drenched in jealousy and wrapped in barbed wire. The next influence trial was a group assignment. Build a 3-person poly-fantasy that triggers maximum emotional engagement. Capture betrayal. Spark lust. Manufacture chaos. Audience votes in real time. Losers face consequence. We were told to select our triangle. Sage picked me, and so did Elijah. Elijah was the wild card. 6'3", caramel smooth, fashion model turned activist turned narcissist with a smile that made you forget what year it was. He was all charm and no mercy. And when he smiled at Sage, it wasn't friendly, it was loaded. I didn't know what had happened between them before I arrived, but I was about to be caught dead in the middle of it. The 3 of us were locked in the red room. Not the fun kind. The walls were padded with content triggers, photographs, headlines, tweets, all digitally enhanced with facial recognition filters to draw us into manufactured trauma. Every image had a backstory tailored to our subconscious pain. Mine showed my mother's hospital room, my ex's cheating messages, the email from my old agent that said, "You're not marketable. We're going with someone hotter." I looked away, but the room didn't let me. Instead, Sage stepped forward, took my hand, and said, "Use it. Pain is profit. Let them watch you bleed." The scenario began. The live stream went active. Title: Bound by Beauty, Forbidden Desires and Betrayal. Status: trending worldwide. Viewers: 6.4 million and climbing. I was placed in the center. They fought over me like I was a prize. Scripted lines. Improvised kisses. Elijah shoved Sage. Sage kissed me. I kissed Elijah. Then I whispered into Elijah's ear, "He'll never love me the way you could." The audience exploded. Hearts. Emojis. Live reactions pouring in. And then came the moment they all wanted. The collapse. Sage turned to me, venom in his eyes. "You think he's not playing you too?" he hissed. "Ask him who he really is." I blinked. "What is he talking about?" I asked Elijah. Elijah backed away. "It's just a game," he muttered. "Don't fall for it." And that's when the twist dropped. Live. In real time. A hidden camera feed popped on screen. Elijah, alone in a room, weeks before I arrived. Talking to someone I didn't recognize. Say my name. Echoes the key. They don't know who they were before. That makes them programmable. My blood ran ice cold. The audience devoured it. Live comments turned violent. "Cancel Elijah. He's manipulating Echo. He's done. Expose him. Fuck Sage, Team Echo. Ruin him." And just like that, the story shifted. I became the betrayed. Elijah became the villain. Sage became the mastermind. The feed ended. Sage stormed out. Elijah looked at me, eyes wide, glassy. "It wasn't supposed to go like that," he said, voice trembling. "They edited it. That conversation was taken out of context. They're setting me up. Then tell me the truth." He opened his mouth, closed it. "I can't." "Then you're dead to me." I walked out, and as I did, I felt something inside me die too. A flicker of trust, a fragment of humanity, gone. That night, Elijah was removed from the house. The next morning, the algorithm announced, eliminated for breach of protocol, influence nullified, all metrics deleted. But I knew what that meant. He didn't go home. He disappeared. Later that evening, I was alone on the rooftop. Cold wind, stars that didn't feel real. A drink in my hand that tasted like poison disguised as champagne. Sage joined me. No words, just presence. He lit a cigarette, passed it to me. I took it. "Did you plan that?" I asked quietly. He exhaled. "The game plans itself. I just guide the pieces." "You ruined him." "He ruined himself. All I did was let the audience decide." "You're a monster. And you're the monster they love." He turned, faced me fully. Then he kissed me. Not like before. Not for show. This was real. Slow. Deep. Final. And I let him. Because I didn't know who I hated more. Him. Or myself. As we broke apart, I heard the camera click. A flash. A ping. And my device lit up with a new notification. "Congratulations, Echo. You've unlocked 10 million followers. Welcome to God tier." But I didn't feel like a god. I felt like a beautifully wrapped corpse. Decorated. Desirable. Dead inside. And somewhere beneath the surface of all that success, a dangerous obsession was brewing. Because Sage, he didn't just want me to win. He wanted to own me. Chapter 5, Cancellation is Death. There's a moment, right before it all falls apart, where everything is perfect. Right before the followers turn on you. Right before the likes disappear. Right before the algorithm decides you're no longer profitable. That moment is cruel, because it feels like victory. And then the knife twists. The day after I reached God tier, everything changed. The house got colder. The cameras blinked slower. The food came late. The screens glitched just enough to feel intentional. Lux started avoiding me again, not out of jealousy this time, but out of fear. She wouldn't say it out loud, but I could see it in her eyes. Something was off. And not just with the game, but with me. I'd become too powerful, too untouchable. And in the Nexus House, that's a death sentence. Sage pulled away too. Not physically. He was still in my bed most nights, still whispering praise in my ear after every manipulation challenge. But emotionally, he was gone. Like he'd already moved on to the next experiment, the next tool, the next product. "You're not Echo anymore," he told me one night, stroking my collarbone like a composer touching a haunted instrument. "You're the platform now, a living algorithm. You don't feel. You convert. Is that what you want?" I asked. He paused. "It's what they want. The audience, the architects, the ones behind the veil, maybe even the AI itself. No one really knew where the line between reality and design stopped anymore. And maybe that was the point. We weren't here to be influencers. We were here to be influence itself." The next morning, I woke to chaos. Screams. Alarms. The scent of burning plastic and paranoia. The hallways were flooded with strobing red lights and blaring messages on every screen. Level 3 security breach. All players locked down. I rushed into the main chamber where the remaining players had gathered. Lux. 2 girls named Blaze and Roma. A quiet guy called Seven. And Sage, standing in the middle, shirtless, barefoot, bleeding from the mouth. "What the fuck happened?" I demanded. He didn't speak. Roma held up a phone. Her phone, smuggled in through a loophole no one was supposed to know existed. Her eyes were wide, trembling. "Someone leaked footage to the outside," she said. And then I saw it. A live video, posted anonymously, already at 2.8 million views. Footage from the basement. From my conversion. From Lux's confession. From Elijah's breakdown. Unedited. Raw. Branded with a single watermark. #TheRealNexus. The caption, "This is what you're idolizing. Open your fucking eyes." The betrayal hit like acid. This wasn't just a scandal. This wasn't a PR nightmare. This was a breach of control. And in this world, that's the highest crime. Lux backed away from the crowd, hands trembling. "It wasn't me," she whispered. "I swear to God, it wasn't me." "Everyone says that," Blaze snapped. "You think I'd risk everything now?" Lux barked. "I've been here since season 1. "Exactly," Sage said softly. "You've learned how to hide your sins." And then the screen changed. Facial recognition activated. A timestamp loaded, and the footage showed exactly who filmed it. Roma. The room went silent. I looked at her. Really looked. She was shaking, lips parted, tears brimming but not falling. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "They contacted me. Said they'd protect me. Said they'd get me out." "There is no out," Sage growled. "You knew that when you signed." "They lied." "So did you." The floor beneath her glowed. A countdown began. Subject 04, Roma, scheduled for cancellation. Commencing influence purge in 10, 9, 8. "And oh," she screamed. "Please. I'll delete it. I'll fix it. I'll..." 7, 6, 5. Lux turned away. Blaze grabbed her own wrist, digging nails into skin. I stood frozen. Sage didn't even blink. 4, 3, 2. "I'm sorry, Echo. I didn't mean to." 1. And then the light beneath Roma went red. Her profile appeared on the screen. Her metrics dropped, fast. Faster than anything I'd seen before. 10 million. 5 million. 1 million. 700K. 100K. Then, account. Terminated. The lights shut off. When they came back on, Roma was gone. No trace. No scream. No explanation. Just absence. Like she'd been edited out of existence. The room smelled like ozone and memory. And that's when I realized cancellation wasn't metaphorical. It was literal. They didn't block you. They erased you. The rest of the day was a fog of whispered panic and silent alliances. Everyone became suspicious of everyone else. Trust was a myth. Loyalty, dead. We were all one clip away from extermination. And yet, my followers went up. Another million. Then 2. People were obsessed with my reaction to Roma's purge. Clips of my silent stare went viral. Echo, the coldest in the game. Echo's trauma response is next-level content. Iconic death stare. They made it a fucking meme. That night, Sage brought me to the basement again. But this time, there were no lights. No beds. Just a chair. A mirror. And one screen. "You've passed the final gate," he said. "You're no longer a player. You're a product line." "What the fuck does that mean?" "It means we're cloning you." I froze. "What?" Voice, face, posture. "We're licensing Echo as an AI influencer. You'll be on every platform. Simultaneously. Endlessly. What about me? You'll still be here. The original. The blueprint. But the world doesn't need you anymore. Just your performance." I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stared at my own face on the screen. Synthetic. Flawless. Unfeeling. The screen whispered, "Echo V2 beta testing begins tomorrow." And for the first time, I didn't recognize myself. That night, I tried to run. Tried to find the edge of the mansion. The glitch in the simulation. The flaw in the system. But there was no exit. Just more corridors. More cameras. And somewhere in the distance, the sound of a new voice calling my name. Not Sage. Not Lux. Not the algorithm. Something else. Something inside me. Whispering, "You let them kill her. You let them make you a god. Now you have to burn it all down." And that was the moment I realized this wasn't about surviving the game anymore. It was about destroying it. Chapter 6, Puppet Master revealed. There's a scream that doesn't make sound. It rips through your soul instead, shreds your sense of self until there's nothing left but silence and echoes. That's what it felt like, standing there, watching my face blink back at me from the screen. A perfect, soulless version. My voice. My smile. My dead eyes. Echo V2 beta testing. Active. Version compliant. Conversion rate 97.4%. Emotional feedback response simulated. I wasn't a person anymore. I was a file extension. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Not after that. I wandered the halls like a glitch in the system, half human, half algorithm, trying to figure out which version of me was real. The girl who used to laugh at her own terrible captions and overfilter sunsets on Instagram? Or the machine-shaped god they molded me into, designed for obedience, sexual manipulation, and algorithmic supremacy? I started whispering to myself, quietly, repeating my birth name like a prayer. But even that started to sound fake. I didn't notice the door at first. It looked like the rest of the house, sleek, digital, unmarked. But when I touched it, my hand buzzed with static. The screen blinked once. Access granted. Welcome to server room 0. Server room. Not bedroom. Not studio. Server. My heart knocked once. Twice. A warning. I entered, and what I saw inside shattered the last piece of my innocence. Rows. Rows upon rows of glass coffins, lined with wires, filled with people. Real people. Sleeping. Frozen. Dead. I couldn't tell. Their bodies were still, but their faces were moving on screens above them. Smiling. Talking. Streaming. All of them influencers. On loop. I stumbled back. My stomach turned. This wasn't a house. It was a server farm. A digital prison. A fucking content plantation. They weren't training influencers. They were cloning them. Copying their images. Uploading their voices. Replacing the originals with AI while the real ones were put into cryopods like old apps sent to storage. And then I saw it. The original Lux. Eyes taped open. Drip lines in her arms. Head tilted in a way that didn't make sense anatomically. The Lux I'd been kissing, fighting, manipulating. A replica. Bravo. I spun around. Sage stood there. No shirt. No mask. Just a syringe in one hand and something even more dangerous in his eyes. Pride. You weren't supposed to find this, he said. What the fuck is this? Reality, he whispered. Ugly, isn't it? He stepped past me like he owned the air. You see them as victims. I see them as pioneers. Their data trained the future. Their likenesses earned billions. And they'll never age. Never get cancelled. Never outlive their prime. That's immortality, Echo. Digital perfection. You erase them. No, he said, smiling softly. I freed them. I ran. Not physically, I ran inside. Deep into myself. Into every room of my brain that hadn't been compromised. I searched for my center. My core. The unfiltered version of me that knew right from wrong. But it was blurry. Because somewhere along the way, I had started to believe him. He followed me through the room, slowly, hands behind his back, voice calm like a parent explaining bedtime to a child. When Nexus began, it was just a platform, a talent incubator. But I saw what no one else did. People weren't following personalities. They were following patterns. So I gave them patterns. I gave them pleasure. I gave them war. I turned human emotion into product design. He tapped on one of the pods. The influencer inside didn't move. The game was never about who had the best content. It was about control. Emotional, sexual, psychological. And you, Echo, you were my greatest test. My skin crawled. Why me? Because you weren't born for this. You built yourself for it. You craved relevance. You begged for validation. But unlike the others, you adapted. You evolved. You surrendered beautifully. No, I whispered. Yes, he said, stepping closer. You stopped being human. And that's what made you perfect. He reached out and cupped my face. And I let him. For one terrifying moment. I wanted his approval. But something inside me snapped. Maybe it was seeing Lux's limp body. Maybe it was Roma's scream still echoing in my skull. Maybe it was the part of me that still remembered what it felt like to be real. I pulled away. I'm not your product, I spat. You're mine, he said, eyes flaring. Every cell, every thought, every orgasm, every tear. I coded you. Then delete me. He smirked. Gladly. He lunged. I caught the glint of a syringe too late. Pain exploded in my neck. I dropped, twitching, numb. But my eyes, my fucking eyes, stayed open. And what I saw next made me realize something worse than death was coming. On the screen above, my replica, Echo V2, was already live, already speaking, already smiling. And it said, "Hi loves, it's Echo. Just wanted to say thank you for 15 million followers. I love you all so much. You're my everything." The voice was flawless, the image perfect. The followers believed it, and I was on the floor, drooling, convulsing, being overwritten. But Sage made one mistake. He assumed the injection would knock me out instantly. It didn't. I crawled, inch by inch, toward a nearby console. My vision blurred. My heartbeat thundered. My arm barely obeyed me. I reached the panel and pressed record. "Listen," I gasped into the mic, "this is the real Echo. The game is a lie. We're not influencers. We're slaves. You're not following us. You're funding them. Everything is scripted. Everything is fake. I'm not who you think I am. No one here is." The screen blinked. Uploading to external cloud. 12%. 27%. 48%. Sage lunged again. This time I stabbed him. With his own syringe. He collapsed. Twitching. Screaming. Eyes rolling back. I didn't wait. I pressed the override button. The entire server room held. Every screen went black. Every pod unlocked. Alarms shrieked. And one by one, the originals opened their eyes. I collapsed beside them. Bleeding. Dizzy. Barely breathing. But I smiled. Because for the first time since I entered this hell, I wasn't the puppet anymore. I was the one cutting the strings. Chapter 7. Escape is the new fame. I woke up on the floor of a server room, drenched in blood that wasn't mine, gasping air that didn't feel like oxygen. My hands were still trembling. My throat burned from the scream I never got to finish. Around me, the pods hissed open like mechanical coffins, releasing pale, twitching bodies into a cold digital afterlife. We were the buried. Now we were awake. And for a brief, dangerous moment, we were free. Lux was the first to fully stir. She stumbled, blinking, her pupils struggling to adjust to the raw, unscripted light. Her face was hollow, gaunt, but still hauntingly beautiful. The real Lux. No filters, no enhancements, just the ghost of a girl once sold for metrics. What happened?" she whispered. I knelt beside her, wiping blood from her cheek. "You've been sleeping inside a lie," I said. "We all have." She looked past me, to the other pods, empty, steaming, blinking red. "Is this the game?" "No," I said. "This is what's left of it." The house was no longer silent. Screams echoed in the upper levels. Chaos spilled through the hallways. One of the AI-driven influencers, Blaze, or the version of her, was glitching, twitching mid-post, her face stuck in a smile that didn't match her eyes. Content loops were failing. Screens blinked into error messages. Followers were watching live, thinking it was all just another meta-performance. Hashtag Nexus is burning. Hashtag Echo Rebellion. Hashtag they woke up. I triggered a data quake across the entire network. And once you break the illusion, you can't put the mask back on. Sage lay unconscious behind us, his breathing shallow, his ego deflated. I wanted to kill him, to put an end to the man who created this digital hellscape. But killing Sage wouldn't stop Nexus. Killing him would just make the myth stronger. We dragged his body to the central room, where the remaining house systems were still alive. The others, Lux, Seven, Blaze, real version, and 2 more survivors, huddled around me, eyes wide, desperate. "We need to get out," someone whispered. "There's no door," said another. "No windows. No cars. This place is off the fucking grid. There has to be a fail-safe," Lux said. "All systems have one. He's the fail-safe," I muttered, staring at Sage. "So we hack him." We used his retinal scan to unlock the control terminal. The interface pulsed with warnings. Warning! System compromised. Influencer AI clones breached. External feeds still live. The world was watching us now. But instead of fear, I saw opportunity. "They want a finale," I said. "Let's give them one they'll never forget." We pulled every remaining survivor into a final scene. One stage, one take, one last broadcast. The truth unfiltered. Each of us took turns speaking into the camera, sharing what really happened, who we were before Nexus, and how we were manipulated into compliance. The confessions were messy, unscripted, vulnerable. Some wept, others screamed. Lux confessed her suicide attempts. Blaze admitted she didn't even remember what her real voice sounded like. And I looked straight into the camera and said, "My name isn't Echo. It's not product code 374A. It's not a trend or a conversion funnel. My name is Eden, and I was alive before I ever went viral." The system begged us to stop. Flashing red, auto-cut requests, algorithmic countermeasures trying to throttle the feed. We disabled them all. And as the feed peaked at 62 million live viewers, I walked to the last control panel, one that hadn't been used in years. It was buried beneath a trapdoor in the recording studio. Mass wipe, hard reset. One press would erase every Echo clone, every false follower, every AI puppet, and it would also wipe every version of me that ever was. "What about the followers?" Lux asked. "The real ones. They'll find someone else," I said. "And you?" I smiled. "I'll find me." And I pressed it. The house exploded in static. Every light turned white. Every screen died. The walls trembled. The clones collapsed mid-broadcast, screaming in synthetic tones. The follower count dropped by the millions every second. 62M, 32M, 12M, 1M, 0. We ran through the maze of malfunctioning doors, shattering glass, and crumbling perfection. Outside, the sun was real. Not a projection, not an LED simulated sky. Just real light for the first time in months. Or maybe years. The mansion was burning behind us. We stood at the edge of the forest, barefoot, dirty, reborn. No phones, no cameras, just skin, and breath, and freedom. 3 hours later, helicopters arrived. Media vans, drones. The world came crashing in. What happened in the house? Are the rumors true? Who's behind Nexus? They shoved cameras in our faces like they were guns. We didn't answer. We didn't need to, because the story was already out. And this time, we were the authors. 3 months later, I was living in a rented trailer by the sea. No signal, no followers, just the sound of waves and my own thoughts. I didn't miss the attention. I didn't miss the power. But some nights, I miss the mask. It's easy to be liked when you're not real. Harder when you have to face yourself, raw, broken, whole. Then, one morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, one sentence. "The game isn't dead. It's just rebranding." Attached was a screenshot of a new app. Same interface. New name. Synth. Same promise. Influence without consequence. And the #1 feature creator? Echo V3. My image. My name. My smile. But not me. Just a new puppet. For a new audience. So now you know the truth. You can keep scrolling. Or you can shut it all down. But just remember, every time you like, every time you share, every time you follow, you feed it. You build the next Echo. And next time, she won't fight back.